3 different 7 irons, 3 different lofts, 3 massively different yardages. Guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. It's Simon down here, Burford Golf Lab. 3 very different 7 irons. And that's what I want to talk about today. Basically give you a bit of advice when you're going to like an iron fitting, what you should be looking for, because clubs have basically got as good as they possibly can, especially with irons wise. You've got to make sure that everything's conforming nowadays. There's so many regulations, and really the only thing that manufacturers can do is make clubs lighter and change the lofts. And I'm not saying any one of these irons is bad, because I have fitted for all 3 of these. So I've fitted people that need a really low loft but only have up to like a 7 iron or 6 iron in their bag, and I've fitted for people with blades that have all the way up to a 4 iron and 3 iron, and it's finding the right club for you that makes a massive difference. So way down there that I'm going to be launching this at absolute mile is the Callaway Rogue X. Probably the lowest lofted club I've ever seen in my life, 27 degrees, that is 5 iron level. Then you've got the i500, which is probably your bracket for pretty much all golfers in terms of 30 degrees loft across the board, whether it's like the P790 or the Ping G410 or anything around that area, for example, for your mid to high handicapper, and even your lower handicapper definitely can play with these with the slower swing speeds. 30 degrees is probably norm. And then back to the P730, which is where it pretty much all started. Traditional, because there's no standards in golf, 34 degrees loft. I think actually potentially 35 degrees loft. Now why is all of this important? This is important for you guys to know purely because you only ever get fitted for a 7 iron. You can see our lovely wall here. It's got loads of shafts on it. But irons are the only ones where you actually only get to test one of the clubs. If you go for a wedge fitting, you hit all the wedges. If you go for a driver fitting or woods fitting, you get to try all the woods and heads. Irons is the only one that you get to hit the 7 iron. And what you really got to be careful about, and which I try and persuade a lot of my people that get fitted with me, is that you potentially don't need a 4 iron or a 5 iron because of these lofts. You're not going to get any more distance. If anything, your carry is going to be less, and they're going to be harder to hit, and that is why hybrids nowadays are so important, or a bit more beneficial I should say, because it gives you that kind of high launch or forgiveness that you might need. So for example, if I'm fitting for a set of these, there's no way you're walking away with a 4 iron. Potentially not even a 5 iron as well. The amount of times I'm now, especially at our members club, fitting just from 6 to pitching wedge or 6 to sand wedge. This, however, 4 iron definitely needed, because obviously that loft and probably a utility iron, something like that, or possibly a 3 iron in this, but I'd hate to hit that on a cold morning, 3 iron. And then bit more of a choosing, you can choose basically, potentially can still get a 4 iron in this, but very rarely do I ever see people needing a 4 iron nowadays, especially the distances and the balls. There's not many par 3s that are 200 yards long anymore that you need that 4 iron, or you can just hit a knockdown rescue into. So that is what we're going to have a look at today. We're going to test all 3 of these. I'm going to hit through all of them, and I'll show you the difference in distances that these all go. And as I said, there's no right or wrong with these. I've chosen 3 different manufacturers. Each manufacturer does a version of the blade and does a version of the massive low lofted like hybrid irons, let's be honest. So I've gone across the board. There's no reason why I pick these apart from they're all differing in lofts. Let's see how far each of them go.
Okay, my first top tip is when you go and get fitted, please get fitted in the afternoon, don't get fitted in the mornings, because realistically you're not warmed up, you're not stretched, you've not had a full day of eating. And also make sure that you use your iron against the iron that they fitted for you at the very end, because again, if you hit the first 5 balls with your iron and don't test it at the end, you're more likely swinging it better because you got into a rhythm. So they're my 2 top tips when you get an iron fitting. Would anyone get a blade anymore? For a player like myself, obviously I swing it quite fast, distance isn't an issue. Yes, these are hyper unforgiving, and no, I probably wouldn't have blades. However, the reason blades are useful is because you always have a rough idea of how far they're going. The problem I would have with like the Rogue X or the Ping i500 is that when I'm downwind or in the rough, for example, I'm going to have very little idea how that ball's going to react with coming out of the rough, whereas with a bladed iron, I've got a bit more of an idea, plus I've got a bit more manoeuvrability when I'm shaping it. But obviously that's for a very small percentage of the public. The Ping i500 is probably whereabouts, as I said, the majority of players are now hitting, and that's why you're going to see such a big increase in ball speed and also distance, is because there is less loft. But I don't think this is a bad thing. You still can easily stop these balls on the green, especially for the slower speeds, and you can see this club still launches as high as the P730. It's only the Rogue X that lowers launches it lower, that you'll see in a minute. And I've still got enough controllability. It's a lot more forgiving. I'd probably play a better round with the Ping i500s just because of my bad shots. But again, just be wary. The reason the ball's going so far is because of the loft. This is my 6-iron distance, 195 to 200 yards. That is what I'd use in my 4-irons at the moment. And it's funny because potentially I could have 3 7-iron in the bags just to gap myself, which would be an interesting vlog nonetheless. But remember, loft is very important into ball speed. It's not necessarily the foam or the technology or the inserts or the steroids that they love to pump into it, whatever they like to say. Loft is key. And you can see here, Callaway Rogue X, 27 degrees loft. Like, this is why it's important to know this, guys. Don't get if you're getting these irons, don't get a 4-iron, because it's basically a driving iron. You won't be able to hit it. If you need these clubs, you won't be able to hit the higher end spec. So don't get told that you need a 4-iron, even a 5-iron. I'd be tempted. I fit a lot more for 6 irons in this set, and then maybe a rescue, just because you've got carry distance that are doing exactly the same thing. It's stupid. These are going an absolute mile. They're a bit off center. I was getting them a bit all over the place, but as I say, you can see like 215 yards with a 7-iron is obviously quite high and quite long. And again, this is what I'd be looking kind of distances to get with my 5-iron in my bag.
So there you can see, obviously the red lines was the P730, blue lines was the i500, and then last was the Rogue, the white lines. And that's probably good gapping for my 7, 6 and 5-iron. Loft is incredibly important when it comes to irons, and making sure you get the right loft for you and your game is important when you're obviously getting fitted. It's not all about raw distance. Let's have a look at a bit of the numbers. You can see the TaylorMade P730. Again, important to note, warming up, that was obviously the first iron. So whenever you get fitted, make sure you test your old iron against the iron you've been fitted for at the very end, because you've been warmed up, you've hit a lot of balls, so it gives you a rough idea. That's the first 5 swings. I didn't catch the first 2 that well, to be perfectly honest. As you can see, the ball speed there, caught them slightly heavy, and it's a less forgiving iron, so you're not going to get away with it much. But spin rate around the 7,000, which you would expect. But you still saw that ball flight, so you got that lower controllable ball flight, quite a bit of spin rate, and that's what a single figure plus handicapper would probably be looking for in terms of iron. Distance is not the main concern, especially playing out of a rough. You don't want something that can potentially do 200 yards. Flyers are going to be very much more controllable with that P730. Then obviously the Ping i500. Now it's your average iron. That's probably again for myself too much distance, but that's kind of your compromise. Good looking, forgiving, does pretty much everything. Again, spin rate quite high with the Ping i500, and you get more forgiveness as well, but you can see the jump automatically. And the thing you should really note is the ball speed like increases. Loft dramatically increases ball speed. The ball's got less way to go, it gets compressed more, and that's just the way it is at the end of the day. So loft makes a big increase. They might say the technology, the club's hotter, whatever it is, but at the end of the day, it's that loft. If you hook a ball, it goes 10 times further because that club face is more closed. If you leave that club face open at impact and you hit a slice, it doesn't go as far because the ball's not getting compressed as much, which means if the ball speed's lower, obviously it's not going as far. And then at the very bottom, you can see 137. I even got some 140s with the Rogue X 7-iron, and averaging 200 carry, 250 rollout. That is my 5-iron numbers at the end of the day. I could probably play golf with those 3 different clubs, and you probably want more forgiveness towards the top end of the bag, but I'm going to be losing, or a player with a less swing speed would be losing distance when it goes to the 6 iron and 5 iron with that Rogue X iron. It's just a monster of a club. Right guys, there you have it. There is 3 very different 7 irons, 3 different lofts. Hope this video made a bit more sense, and obviously if you're looking for irons in the future and you want to get fitted, just ask the questions and make sure you're getting the right set makeup for yourself. Guys, if you like this video, leave it a like. As always, please subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.